This is the GMologist, GM extraordinaire, the GMologist.
Hello everyone, and welcome to a new season of the GMologist Presents. This is show number 301, the first show of 2025, season 5, and I hope you enjoy it. The topic or the title of today's podcast is Inspiring GMs, and I had the opportunity to game with 3 different GMs during the course of December, and each of them has inspired me to pick up, try, purchase, run a new game, or a game that I've bounced off of before. So I think it's really cool to give kudos to my fellow GMs. I think as a GM, I know I call myself the GMologist, and maybe some of you are annoyed by that moniker. But you know what? As a good GM, you're always looking to improve, and you're always looking to be inspired by other GMs, right? So one GM this past December was able to run a game for me that, like I said, I'd bounced off before. I didn't like my previous game at playing it, but he did some solo play, and then he ran it for us, and it was really enjoyable, and I want to get it back to the table again. Another GM ran a game that I had heard of but never played, and it's a game from way back when, the 90s or so. That's way back when for some of you, maybe not. But it was so good that I was inspired to go buy some of the product, get it on the secondary market, and now I'm going to run that game, that adventure actually, at a con here in January. And then finally, a GM did sort of a marathon type set of gaming sessions where he ran 5 different sessions of the same game over the course of the New Year's weekend or holiday, and I was able to participate in 3 out of the 5, and it was really fantastic. It really gave me a great appreciation for the game and what you can do with it, and I think I will get that one to the table, so I'll talk about that in a little bit. But we also have a call-in from Jason Connerly, and then we'll have our Metal Minute, and finally, if it doesn't go too long, then I will have the latest in our adventures in Hyperborea, a narrative by I Put the Skinner, with accompanying music. All right, first to the call-in. Thank you for listening to the GMologist Presents, and we'll talk soon.
Hey, Carl. Enjoyed episode 299. Thank you for all that you do. Don't worry about the spoilers. I may end up playing some of those solo and duet games at some point, so I'd rather go into them fresh. That's a Jason thing, not necessarily a worry about your podcast. As far as more narrative games, I was thinking for like you and Amy, I don't know. I was thinking more along the line like Rysis or Fate Accelerated, or even the old Hero Quest. Not the Hasbro board game, but the Robin Laws written game set in Grantha. Now, you don't have to play in Grantha, but if you pulled that core mechanic of the old Hero Quest, I don't know, it's been recalled something else. I think Chaos still publishes it. But that core mechanic is pretty simple at the core and would allow you a lot more leeway. You know, something where the player has a lot more narrative control. It'll make it a little bit easier. It might require you as a GM to loosen the reins a little bit, but I don't know. They were just thoughts, but you guys have to play what you're comfortable with. The other thing I wanted to mention was that Massive Nyarlathotep Invictus sounds interesting. It's definitely, the original campaign is world-spanning, like you say, but spanning the world of the Roman Empire is still a pretty big area, and especially with the travel methods available during Roman times. So I think that's actually a really smart idea. Not only do you still get the travel aspects and you still have the sandbox kind of thing where they can bounce around and choose where they go. It's not a linear campaign, but it's a little bit closer and more cohesive because it's all in the Roman world, all part of the Roman Empire, I assume. Maybe not. Maybe you're setting it outside the Roman Empire too. But that does sound very interesting and a very neat way to do that campaign. So I look forward to hearing more about that in the future. Sounds like you have some great plans for 2025. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, as always, for the call, Jason. Yeah, I don't know anything about Rysis other than what I'm here looking at the wiki, but I guess it's the anything RPG supposed to be rules light, and then Ghostbusters RPG, um, published by West End Games, seems to use it, and or to I don't know if that's the core of the system. Maybe it adds a few things, but I guess it was originally meant to be a parody, but it took off. So I have not looked at it, but I will take a look. I am familiar with Fate and Fate Accelerated, and I know that we did this one Fate game a while ago called The Secrets of Cats, where cats are like magical. But we might do something like that, or even Magical Kitties Save the Day, which would be kind of fun to do. But I don't know how light is rules light, so I guess we'll have to see. I do agree that a more narrative type of game that's not so hung up on the mechanics or the mechanics for success, using the mechanic for success. I don't know if that's correct. But we could try. I know I do have Over the Edge, so maybe I could try that too. I played Over the Edge, but I remember it being pretty light, or not a lot of rolls, and a stat or two, and just rolling a d6. And I guess that's the type of game. I feel like Magical Kitties is kind of like that. Maybe Into the Odd is a little like that, although that has some more subsets, making it not just sort of one dice and go type of thing. And apparently, it looks like career scale skills in DC Heroes RPG by Mayfair is supposed to be inspired by Rysis as well. So I'll definitely take a look at those. That'd be kind of neat. And I will try to avoid spoilers. I know it's just a you thing, but it is probably good to avoid spoilers as much as possible. And I hope I can get. I know we have a lot of things in the queue, and of course I get distracted, as will be explained in the next segment, where I talk about the games GMs have run that have inspired me. But I would definitely like to get the masks to the table, though I think that is also inspired when it was sort of mashed up by somebody, by Kevin Madison. I think he mashed that up with he did masks and Lex Arcana actually. But I would rather do masks with Invictus, or I don't know, maybe someone suggested even Cool Horse Cthulhu, but that might be a little too pulpy. But maybe, people nowadays use Pulp Cthulhu for Mask of Nyarlathotep, so Pulp Invictus or Pulp Octune Cthulhu, Cool Horse Cthulhu might actually work. I think Lex Arcana worked really well, but that game is probably a harder bit of a sell, so it definitely could work. It really gets into Roman and Roman terminology and the Latin aspect of the Roman world. Much, I think, better than any game that I've come across. Your mileage may vary, of course, but so that's kind of what would be cool to do. So we'll see if it gets into the queue this year. Maybe target, second quarter for that. I wanted to do first quarter, but other things have gotten in the way. We haven't, just with the holidays, you always think, oh, we're going to play this much, but it doesn't happen. So we'll see. All right, on to the next thing. The first game I got to play in that I initially had bounced off of, I apologize for that horrible grammatic construct, off of. The game I didn't like, and I played again, I gave it a second chance, was Merc Bori, or I don't know how you pronounce it. I will call Mork Borg. I'll call it Mork Borg, but it's a text and game design by Pio Nielsen. And we've talked about it a lot on this show before, and on Jason Connerly's show and other people's show. The art book won awards. But inherently, it's a simple system, and DJ Boyd of the Arcane Alienist ran a solo play of an adventure, and I said, yeah, that sounds pretty cool. I mean, I didn't realize it had all this kind of depth to it. It's not just die silly and go. And you know what? It was pretty fun when he ran it. He ran for us a holiday kind of adventure, and it was crazy and silly. And one character died, but it was really fun. It's a very simple system at its core. You have a target number, gotta roll above it. You're not super competent initially, but you get competent kind of quickly, and that's okay. You just gotta survive. You know, the violence, right? Initiative is simple. I'll just go through your character creation is really quick. Initiative is simple. You roll a d6. You roll high, 4 to 6. You guys, the PCs go first. Roll low. Enemies go first. And then, right, you can, if you go down, you become broken, and you could be dead. There's a 1 in 4 chance that you're insta dead. When you go to 0, well, I guess you go to 0, not insta dead, but you go to 0, 1 in 4 chance you're dead. Melee is a test of strength, DR12. Range, presence, DR12. Defense, agility, DR12. It's all player facing. A crit, you can do double damage or reduce protection. A fumble is a natural 1. So things happen. So pretty cool. And how long is a round? Well, a round is long enough time to make an attack or use a power. 10 rounds in a minute. And then getting better. Like I said, more hit points after you survive your first thing. Roll 60-10, and more than likely you're going to increase your hit point maximum. Increase it by a d6. You might find some stuff. Ability changes, roll d6 for everything, and results equal to or greater to that ability, increase it by 1 to a max of +6. If the results are low, it decreases by 1. And abilities from -3 to +1 are always going to be increased, obviously. So, yeah, that's it. There's some powers, some small things, but that's the game. It's pretty simple. It's really fun in the hands of a good GM and a good crew that are convinced, or like I was convinced, or initially kind of go into it as this sort of grim and humorous horror tale. And I think PJ Boyd sold it well, convinced me. I'll try to run it. I have run Cyborg, and I guess I didn't think it was that as dismal. It's just kind of mean cyberpunk, which is mean already. So just maybe the fantasy was a little too grim, or maybe at the table that I played in before, too much kind of laughter. And let's play this serious, but when the bad things occur, then we can use that gallows humor or have that gallows humor, right? I don't know. Again, a lot of experiences are dictated by who is at the table with you and how that experience goes. So, whereas before I was put off, now BJ has made me a convert. So hopefully we'll see some more Bori in the future. And thanks, BJ, for reintroducing me to that game. Game number 2, or GM number 2, that has inspired me this month was Shea Webster of Roleplay Rescue. I jumped in, or was able to jump in with my schedule into a early morning for me game of Alternity, the 1998 version, and it was fantastic. Shea moved the game adventure right along. It was a quick adventure, but it had all the mood of crazy conspiracy, and I really enjoyed it. I really kind of fell in love with the mechanic, sort of this roll under idea, roll under your skill attribute combo. It was really elegant. I really liked the degrees of success and failure that you could have, or more degrees of success. Well, I guess you could have a horrible failure, and things happen because of that. And I really like how the different tiers of damage that you have in the game that can be influenced by your success or failure in a particular situation. So yeah, it was a really good game, elegant little game. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much that I went out and went onto the secondary market and found the rule books and some other supplements. And I did a priority unboxing just also that will come out, I don't know, contemporarily with this or not. I'm not sure. But it was a wonderful game. It inspired me enough that I, like I said, bought the game, and I'm confident enough under Shay's tutelage and having him run the game with me there as a player to try to run it myself. I'm going to run that same adventure at BSRCon, and it's a really nice intro to one of their settings. And I've always wanted to run like a conspiracy, modern conspiracy horror type of setting, and I do enjoy sort of the dark matter background, but I could change it. Obviously, could change it to what the dark conspiracy stuff is, but the one in Alternity is not so bad. So whether I stick with it or not, or do my own thing, I mean, now I got the tool set, and thank you so much, Shay, for inspiring me to do so. So we will see if, like a squirrel looking for nuts or a dog chasing butterflies, that I will now be distracted to throw this into the mix as well here in 2025. And that brings me to the next game. And that was run by Kevin Madison of the Dungeon Musings YouTube channel. He runs a lot of games. I think he said he ran 43 different games this year, which he believes is a high watermark. It will be hard to top that. A lot of it is because for his charity sessions, he was doing mashups of classic campaign with a different rule set. The ones that I was able to participate in that were highlighted were Masks of Nyarlathotep using Lex Arcana, the Pathfinder First Adventure Path, Rise of the Rune Lords. He ran a vignette of that using Zweihander, which was really fantastic. It really makes me think I can jump and use a lot of these old classic adventures and reskin them to use Warhammer Fantasy or Zweihander, especially with the new Zweihander Revised coming out. And then another cool one he did was Knights Black Agents with Twilight 2000. And that has kind of inspired me to run a horror Twilight 2000 thing. But what really inspired me was the sort of New Year's time period sort of pseudo marathon that he runs. He runs this kind of concept every year. And this year he ran the One Ring. And I have the One Ring. I did the Kickstarter. I have the starter set. I invested in the Moria product. And they're all beautiful books. But I'd never really been able to get it to the table, except like one time Amy and I played like a dual game where she played Primula and Drogo, so Frodo's parents, before they were married and obviously before Frodo. But I never really got into the game, and I guess a lot of it is like I really didn't grok so much the One Ring game system, and in order to understand the system, sometimes you got to sit at the foot of the master, the lore master in this case. And Kevin ran a really good game. Sometimes he throws in a house rule or two. Most of this was rules as written, including the very brutal, I think, brutal travel rules. But they're there for a purpose, right? It is in this sort of twilight time in the Third Age. It makes a lot of sense if you buy in and believe the lore, I think, of why travel out in the wild is so tough. But the game went really well. I really enjoyed it. I'm inspired to reread the rules now that I have a better understanding of it. And now I want to run some One Ring, whether I run through the starter set again, which doesn't have the full rules. It doesn't have the full travel rules. They're sort of modulated for sort of easy Shire travel, modified for easy Shire travel in a way. And then all the characters are just, they don't have both the lineage and their calling in there. So they're not fully developed characters, pre-generated characters. Or maybe I could take those guys and give them a calling and they'll be a little bolstered, or maybe run through the starter set as a level 0 kind of campaign, and then when they finish it, what calling appeals to them, and then maybe they become adventurers in the wider world. I guess that breaks the fiction a little bit, maybe, but maybe it won't matter so much, right? In the just in the fiction. Sorry for that. I don't know why my throat is a little more parched than it should be. I didn't go out partying and shout a lot this New Year's. In any case, right? So in the fiction, in the Fellowship of the Ring, this is a spoiler. So if you don't like spoilers, unless you've read Lord of the Rings before, so it's a spoiler for the next 30 seconds or so. So what happens is that Primula and Drogo die in a boating accident when Frodo is 12 years old. So that's why he becomes an orphan, and then is kind of raised by one side of his family, and then associates with Bilbo at some point. And spoiler. So could be pretty fun to do, just a Shire type of tale, or have my players just roll fresh batch of characters. And it does say you can modulate the difficulty. It does say you can play from a lore master and 1 player to up to 6 players. So I think it could work as a dual game as well, since I have Amy, who's a big fan of Lord of the Rings, the books and the movies. Maybe not so much the latest Hobbit trilogy, but yeah. Again, it'd be something to do, and it'd be really fun to do. And thank you so much, Kevin, for running a fantastic game. It took you got to go back and listen to his YouTubes, even if you don't like actual play. They're very fun. It is not quite a comedy of errors, but it just shows how tough, and I think that makes it fun and challenging. So that when we do get into Moria, we are like, wow, we kind of did it, and then shenanigans ensue even more. So, and I think that Free League Games, the One Ring in particular, does a great job of sort of this procedural for travel. It does a great procedural for exploration in these dungeons and halls. The books are laid out beautifully. I think the only complaint, maybe some of the isometric maps are hard to figure out. But hey, I've had a little bit of a problem with that since Ravenloft, right? Since I6. So if you're good at looking at 3-dimensional spaces, you won't have any problems at all. But and all in all, the game was fun. A great GM, wonderful set of players, and I played a lot of games with them on the Musings channel, and it just worked really well, and it really inspired me. So those are the 3 GMs through the course of December that really inspired me. And I'll take a pause here and get back with the Metal Minute. So, I had mentioned this particular album during my metal month of November, and I contended that this album, from song 1 to song 8, did not drop off. And that is what I'm going to highlight today for you. That album is Blackout by Scorpions, released in 1982 by Harvest at EMI. It was certified gold in June of 82 and platinum in March of 1984. And Blackout is one of the 100 greatest metal albums of all time. It starts with the track Blackout, which, that that song is so good. The interjecting guitar licks, the main riff, followed by the intro's high strings shuffle. The snappy little fills are so cool. This a testament to the skills of Rudolf Schenker and Matthias Gibbs. The refrain with the stuttering motion, it has that sort of blazing E solo. Blackout has this balance of the band's catchy musicalness, and then kind of a palatable commercialism, right? The whole album. The next song after Blackout, the title track, comes in with sort of a metal anthem, Can't Live Without You, right? Just a very basic track. I do have to say that, except for one exception, all the songs are around 4 minutes. Kind of perfect almost for a commercial release, but maybe that's why they're so good. They don't drag on you so much. But Can't Live Without You is almost a quintessential sort of rock album. We love you, my fans. We can't live without you. And Klaus Meine says that often in the refrain. The third song, I'm talking album and cassette. I guess it's the same on the CD. I don't know. In MP3, obviously, you can go all the way around. It doesn't matter in MP3 format. But No One Like You, your rock ballad, right? And I think it is probably like the rock ballad. There's no one like you. I can't wait for the nights with you. I remember the things we'll do. And then You Give Me All I Need, another kind of sort of love song, but also sort of like a homage to the fans, right? And then the first side of the album, if you had the album or cassette, is Now, which is it's a very snappy tune, very fast paced, right? I mean, You Give Me All I Need is a closing, kind of has a soft track, but it still has a really good flow and melody to it. And then Now is a romping, stomping, kind of almost a Van Halen-esque, right? That sort of jump B type song. So you get to the second album, side B. I mean, usually side B is like the throwaways in a way, but I mean, the aptly named Dynamite, I think, is actually probably my favorite Scorpion song. And I love it when they do Coast to Coast and Dynamite together in concert. And when I saw them relatively recently, I say it was in the last 4 or 5 years, they did that again. Coast to Coast starts off, and then they kick your ass to heaven with Dynamite. It's still got that. It's kind of got that neat, kind of dad rockery in a way, right? So the bass and drums and excuse me, Francis and Herman's dynamic, Herman Rarebell and Francis' dynamic interplay, right? And then you got like a fun song, kind of more reminiscent of their Love at First Sting, or maybe it's an intro to the Love at First Sting sort of catchy tunes that you have. And then you have Arizona. Arizona really was a gas, right? I mean, it's kind of a very like really cool, peppy song after the heavy, hard-hitting Dynamite. And then finally, China White. Actually, I always thought China White was about like heroin, but in fact, I'm going to pause for a second because I'm going to cough really bad. But in fact, it is actually an anti-war song. I did not know that. I took a look at the lyrics. It kind of invokes this sort of rangy, Thin Lizzy type of style that you might have, right? So, and it's really a kind of a nice, classy intro solo. Klaus has a poppy delivery, right? Almost like a Snake Charming vibe as he interplays the lyrics with the song and how that goes. And finally, I mean, and this one is a exception. It's almost 6.5 minutes. It clocks in at 6.5 as opposed to like 4 minutes. But then finally, to close out the album, you have When the Smoke is Going Down, another kind of slow one, but a very catchy tune, reminiscent almost of You Give Me All I Need, but kind of bluesy in the end. And again, 3 minutes and 50 seconds. It kind of clocks in, doesn't get too old. Clocks in just enough to get you into the song, like a short story, beginning, middle, crescendo, ending. You got it. So that's Blackout. Fantastic album. If you haven't listened to it, I recommend listen to it again. I kind of did this exercise in a way, listened through the entirety of it, and I really enjoyed it. So I know this is more than a minute, but that's your Metal Minute. Okay, I think I'm going to hold off on the archives of Hyperborea, or whatever I'm going to decide to call the Hyperborea recap narration with music. I'm not sure. I just want to keep these close to 30 minutes. Maybe this is a New Year's resolution. Aside from maybe an episode where I have a panelist, you guys don't need to hear me for more than 30 minutes. Sure. Keep it short, relatively sweet. So for like the amount of time it takes you to go up to the grocery store, pause, get your groceries, and come back, 15 minutes either way, and you're done with my episode. Yay. So I think that's what I'm going to try to do. So next time, we'll give you that narrative. If you even like those narratives, let me know. Thanks for calling. Jason Connerly of the Nerds RPG Variety Cast. Thank you to my listeners. Hey, if you want to leave feedback, I got some feedback already from the 300th episode, and that'll be, I'm trying to get the panelists to answer some of those questions. So hopefully we'll have a recap or get those guys together again, or at least have them send me a message in answer of the questions. So in any case, if you want to provide feedback, you can do so. I have a SpeakPipe account linked. You can leave a voice message as a DM and put it to me on the Discord, or you can do a voice message and send it to me at gmologist@gmail.com. My wife Amy does the cover clip art. The intro and outro music is provided by a mysterious benefactor. The intro musics are from Looperman, a subscribe to and donate to platform that has copyright-free vignettes, and you pay donations to the artists as you go. Anyway, again, thanks for listening. Good night and good rolling.